Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Boxing with your host Knowles. I'm here today with Keith Burke, aka BluntForceKeith. How you doing, bro?
What's happening, guys? How are you getting on? What's happening, Connor? You alright?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. I'm glad to have a special guest on.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time.
Andrew, bro. So yeah, to give you a little insight to what we're doing today, it's not going to be like your normal interviews where it's all like rubbish questions and that. It's more like a get to know each other, let the fans get to know you more, get more of an insight to who you are and just everything about you.
Yeah. I've been getting a couple of questions on Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. Like I haven't. I remember I created my Twitter account the night Nick Diaz fought Paul Daly in Strikeforce. That was the night I made my Twitter account just because I wanted to interact with other MMA fans.
Yeah.
Besides like football news, like transfers and stuff like that, I don't really use Twitter or X or whatever the fucking cool kids are calling it these days. And then obviously when I got involved with the ICB and I won their belt, it was just a case of like, right, okay, I sat down with the ICB guys and I was speaking to Sam, who does my videography and photography.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're just going to have to go like broad now with everything, especially with like crossover boxing, influencer boxing, or whatever tagline you want to put on it. It was a case of like, that's where most of like the shit goes down, you know? 100%. And I even noticed it from like my last fight up until today, you know, with me being more involved with the community and speaking to creators of all different sizes and all different organizations and stuff like that, my Twitter has grown, but I've also got to meet like great people like yourself, you know what I mean? And got to talk more about like the fights and like what's happening and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And also being able to speak with more people involved with like, you know, Misfits and what's coming on and all that kind of stuff. So, but the back end of that is I'm getting questions being like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? I get it, because for me coming into this scene, I'm coming from like the whole, like my content is creation of like tattoos and art and that kind of stuff. And that's where I got my notoriety on like the likes of Instagram and stuff like that. And like a small bit of TikTok, but more so like YouTube and Instagram. And because obviously I'm world renowned within the tattoo scene with like magazine coverage and traveling the world, North America, Europe, the UK, doing all the big conventions as a guest and all that kind of stuff. If you're not in the tattoo scene, it can be hard to, you know, like if someone from Love Island was to take part in Misfits, like 12 or 13, because I don't watch Love Island, I may not have an idea who they are.
Yeah. Makes sense, to be honest. So yeah, speaking of your tattoos and stuff, what really got you into like the whole tattooing and just the art side and everything?
To be fair, I guess I have to attribute a lot of it to like one of my uncles on my mum's side. He had like a lot of like, you know, the old school 90s tattoos. It was like a Reaper with a naked woman and her tits out and stuff like that. But I still am a big wrestling fan. So I grew up watching WWF, WWE now, and like seeing like the Undertaker's sleeves and things like that. And I just thought it was the coolest shit ever. So I suppose that's when I kind of like planted the seed. And then as I became like a teenager and stuff like that, I listened to a lot of heavy music, and a lot of the front men of those bands have like their necks tattooed and like sleeves.
Yeah,
and
the whole bodies and all that, yeah.
Yeah, and then like, you know, reading like Kerrang magazine every week and Metal Hammer and stuff like that, you see these artists and stuff. So it's like, shit, when I get the money and get older, I'm definitely getting fully tatted, you know what I mean?
I bet you wasn't expecting any questions about you yourself, was you, really, that much?
Oh, no, do you know what? It's usually, it's a pretty good conversation starter, to be fair. Because I understand I have quite a lot of coverage. So it's kind of like the elephant in the room, you know what I mean? Like even we were speaking at the start of this before we went live, and it was like, you know, about like me not having to worry about my hairstyle anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's lucky for some. I've been there for a few years when because my hairline's receding and stuff. But what are your most three meaningful tattoos to you? And like, could you give us a little insight to how what caused you, what wanted you to get them, and just, you know what I mean? It's intriguing.
I try and either like mark occasions now, because I'm quite heavily tattooed. Like when I go, you know, when I went to New York for the first time to tattoo, things like getting tattoos there. If I do a big convention, like, you know, I'm working Brighton here in February, which is like world renowned. If you get on the Brighton show, like you're gold in the UK scene, you know. So when I went to that for the first year, got a little banger for that. So like kind of like elaborate passport stamps. I've got stuff for my daughter and so on my back. And just small little tattoos that kind of like, you know, they're not the biggest or the most intricate, but when I see them, I'm like, shit, I know exactly what I was doing at that part of my life, that day, that time, you know what I mean? So I suppose obviously the one from my kid, but other than that, then I see ones I'm like, oh, I got that when I was in that country and I was with that tattooer, you know what I mean? So it's like little keepsakes like that. Obviously permanent keepsakes, but at least they'll stay with me instead of like losing a passport or losing a trinket or a fucking postcard or something.
True that. That's what I just like to get to know the person as well. So that means when everyone looks back at like the whole video, there's like all what I've noticed, as I said, what I've noticed about quite a lot of interviews, it's just them asking questions that they want to know.
Yeah.
I want the people, the whole community to get to know who you are and just everything, you know what I mean? So it's more of an in-depth dive into that person, not just, when you're fighting, who you're fighting and all that rubbish, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like a lot of those answers will come from self-promotion of fights or lack thereof, depending on who you are. I actually quite like your approach with the interview, you know what I mean? Because it means it gives the viewers an opportunity to be like, oh no, I like that dude's vibe and his story or whatever, and then they can support from that as opposed to being like, oh, who do you want to win, the red corner or the blue corner? You know what I mean?
100%. Well, as we're speaking about fighting, like what made you like want to get into this whole influencer crossover boxing scene and just boxing in general?
So I had like a small bit of like, you know, I did like MMA as a, you know, the way some gyms do like a 12-week program.
Yeah.
I did
like
that,
for example, like UWBC.
Oh no. More like we have a beginner's class Monday and Thursdays, like that kind of.
Oh, so just like
I did that about maybe 11 or 12 years ago. And just as I came out of, like, let's say, obviously you guys got high school, we got secondary school is what we call it here in Ireland. And I did that for a little bit. And then I suppose when college kind of starts, you know, you have like your college nights out. So it was more a case of like wanting to hang out with my mates, drink cans and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of fell away from it. Never fought to any massive level in MMA or whatever. But I was always a fight fan. I've always been a boxing fan, an MMA fan. You know, I became a UFC fan because I was a wrestling fan when Brock Lesnar crossed over, and I've absolutely no shame in admitting that whatsoever. And then I became like a big fan, a bit of a student of the game, because then once he was my in, I got to know all the other fighters and things like that. So fast forward a couple of years, I had my daughter, and then I didn't do any combat experience or anything combat related for about 11 years. But I would follow everything. I would, you know, take time off to watch a UFC if it was on stupid o'clock in the morning. Traveling to boxing events, stuff like that. I actually went to KSI and Tommy Fury, and obviously Dylan Dennis and Logan. And just per chance, I was there for when Tempo and Chase fought.
Yeah.
And was sitting there or whatever else, and I was watching the fight. And obviously back home through tattooing, I'm friends with Ben Williams, and I had sponsored him for a previous fight. So we would have a good friendship and relationship. And I remember talking to the guys when I came back, being like, I could fucking do that. And Ben had just mentioned, he goes, funny you said that, because I'm actually putting on this fight event called the UCC in a few months. And I'd had like a bit of a rough year through like my own mental health. Like I run at such a high capacity with my career with tattooing and traveling and all that kind of stuff. That sometimes looking after myself can kind of go to the wayside, you know.
You just don't get enough time for yourself and your family and stuff.
Exactly. And then, you know, that kind of wears on you where like you start getting depressed and sad, and you're like, you know, and it's especially then for someone like me who's a creative who creates every single day. You start hitting like roadblocks where you have like artist block and all this kind of stuff. And then I kind of just like, I had gone 4 years sober. So like I hadn't partied or drank or anything.
Yeah.
And because of obviously the roadblocks and the stumbling and all that kind of stuff, I just fell off the wagon and went off the rails completely for a couple of weeks. So when the UCC rolled around, I just dove straight into it and was like, right, okay, maybe this could be the thing, not to bring me back, but just to give me structure and purpose. And at the time, I flew to New York to participate in the New York Tattoo Convention. And I was like, right, okay. And Ben was like, look, we'll speak when you get back. about the UCC and we'll get you a fight and we'll sort all that kind of stuff out. And I was like, right, okay, cool. But when I was in New York, I was like, right, I'm not going to drink or act the bollocks or whatever. I actually seeked out a coach in Eric Kelly in the Bronx, in South Box, who has fought like Andre Ward and is a who's who of like, this dude has fought everybody.
Everyone, anybody and everybody, literally.
Exactly. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, is there any chance I can come in for like a 1-to-1 while I'm in New York or whatever? Went down. And when I mean it was a baptism of fire, bro, this dude kicked my fucking ass for like 2 hours because I wasn't in shape. I'm a big dude, but I was also like just out of shape. I wasn't fit or whatever else. There was a moment about maybe half an hour into our session where I wasn't even hitting pads. I was hitting his bare fists with gloves and I dropped my hands and he open palm slapped me in the side of the face.
To wake you up.
Like, he cleaned my clock and was like, keep your fucking hands up. And I was like, oh shit. So, but at the same time, I leaned into all that and I was like, shit, I was like, I'm not good at this at all. So I was like, right, if I put all my spare time into this, maybe, you'll get out what you put in or whatever. Yeah. So I sat with him and spoke with him and told him what my plans were. And he just basically gave me some like real advice, was cut me to the bone, laid it bare for me to take all in. That was fine. Went, did my tattoos in New York, flew home and was like, I need to get the same caliber of coaching as Eric, but here in Dublin. So then I seeked out Stephen Ormond, who's obviously a European and world champion boxer himself, was signed with Frank Warren for many, many years. He works in Coliseum Gym, who the other head coach is Pete Taylor, who is Katie Taylor's dad. So he obviously has a stable of pros as well, like Tyrone McKenna and all these guys who fight on DAZN and Matchroom week in and week out. So I went down to Stephen and we were working together, told him the plan, and he was like, right, okay. The good thing about obviously being a heavyweight is, anything over 93 kilos, you're good. But at the same time, I didn't want to look like a melted wheelie bin. You know what I mean? I wanted to look the part,
Yeah.
And because I'd spent years lifting weights and all that kind of stuff, I kind of had the build anyway. It was more a case of like, let's redefine, refine it. Like I'd never done road work before. I'd never wore headgear before. You know what I mean? I was like, this is all new to me. But at the same time, I was loving it because it was like, I am no good at this. And it was annoying me and motivating me to be like, but let's get good at it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, like learning to tattoo. I put years of my life into that to learn a skill. The same as like learning how to box is like learning a skill as well. You know what I mean? No one can take that away from you once you've learned.
Once you've mastered it, it's literally, you know what I mean? It's another trade.
Exactly. So I treated the UCC fight as if it was like a WBC world title fight. I started putting out content, boxing related strictly, was working with some companies and all that kind of stuff. And then it got the attention of the ICB and a couple of fighters who were on their rankings. And then they obviously came over with the PBA, sanctioned the fight, were ringside and were there for the entire fight week. That's how the ICB belt came about. And then obviously when the rankings came out, landed number 16th out of like 52 or 53, I think it is, in the ICB rankings.
That's good. How good that is.
Well, it was good because Jake Castle, who I fought, has pro MMA experience. He's on Sherdog and like he had a lot of experience. He flew over from England to fight me, which it kind of got me up for the fight because I was like, well, this guy's going to be durable. You know what I mean? You could probably, most MMA fighters, you could take a hammer to them and they'll still come at you, kind of way. But the good thing on that, touching on that, was all his fights were on YouTube. So I was able to get the links and send them to my coaches and be like, here, what do we do? You know what I mean? And because I've been a student of the game for a while, I understand the sport and the business side of boxing quite well. Everything they were telling me, I was able to take on board like a sponge and just soak it up. And then obviously I was happy with getting Jake by knockout in the second round, which was great. And then it kind of opened up a load of doors. It was like I woke up on the Sunday morning after the belts and we had like Kimbo Slice's son calling me out and telling me he was going to knock me out and all this kind of shit, And then a couple of days later, I had a meeting with Stephen, who owns Hype Boxing and TNT Promotions. We got on a call very similar to what we're doing right now. And I do all my own tattoo admin. I've never had a shop manager. I've never had any of those people. So
it was all part of Boxeo.
Pardon?
It was all quite new to you, that part was.
Oh yeah, new, and I was obviously skeptical as well because you know what, everyone has like such a bad kind of thing to say about like boxing promoters and managers or whatever. So there was a lot of things Stephen brought up in our conversation that I had mentioned with my friends and family, being like, you know, I do need to get someone to oversee this. I also need someone to kind of guide me through the path because I'm very green and new in the scene of crossover boxing.
Yeah.
So we spoke. There was a couple of things he said, and I smiled at certain comments and things because he was kind of repeating what I had said. And then he sent over like a contract for me to read over. So I have like a solicitor and a financial advisor sent to him, sent to my coach Stephen, who's obviously dealt with fight contracts all his life. And
which made it easier, to be honest.
Pardon?
It was useful then, so it made it a lot more easier to just get through it, wasn't it?
Well, it was just a case of like when I get excited about something, I'll like hype read it. So I'll like skip paragraphs at a time.
You skip the most important things and you just want to get on with it.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, sure, have my soul. Here you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then, obviously, with that then being signed, we just started to kind of make a pact, being like, right, okay. So with the end goal obviously being Misfits, because whatever about Misfits as an organization, the bulk of their business is done in the UK. I genuinely think, for example, I was in the AO Arena in Manchester that night for those fights. You know, if you were to have, let's say, me and Ben Williams on a Misfits card, the amount of Irish people who would travel over. I said it to Ben after Manchester with Dylan and Logan. When I was flying, I flew home from Manchester the following day. The amount of young people from Dublin and Ireland that were on the flight home, it was literally just prime and Misfit fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been tweeting like Mams Taylor and stuff and being like, you know, if Kingpin can do a card in Tree Arena, there's no reason why Misfits couldn't do a card in the Tree Arena. So I mean, that's it. I then obviously was getting involved with a lot of back and forth on Twitter with the Misfits fighters because I was more aware of the guys in the top 10 at Misfits and the ICB. Then once I knew who was above me in the rankings, I kind of knew who to poke and prod and kind of respond back to that kind of shit. And then, you know, I've been having private conversations with like Minicon, and I've been having private conversations with like my manager and a couple more fighters and things like that. I can't say too much right now about what's next.
That's fine.
All I will say is I will be in Leeds. I am training. I am on weight. And Misfits has a horrible history of fighters pulling out.
I can get that one.
That's all I'm going to say. And I'm only off the phone with my manager about 90 minutes. So we'll see.
Sounds good. Not going to lie. Speaking of upcoming fights, who do you see? Do you see? Of course, we want you to see this year on Misfits.
Yeah.
Who do you think gives you the biggest challenge that's not on Misfits that you would have a good fight without? I can mention a name which I think you know I want to mention.
Okay, if I'm honest, I'm gonna use Chase for example. Not for his boxing skill. What I do think is, especially in the heavyweight division, a lot of the guys in America would have played like high level American football and basketball and things like that. So I do think what a lot of those guys, whether it be in Misfits, ICB, are not even signed to any promotion as it stands. A lot of the American guys are big dudes. They've been like, let's say, you know, athletic and lifting weights for a long time. So they are naturally, you know, we've all seen Chase in person. He's a big dude, you know what I mean? Because he comes from that like NFL, American football background. I think guys who have an athletic background, they can kind of up their skill because they know what the challenge and the workload that goes into competition. Whereas where they may lack in like boxing skill, they can make up for in being tough and durable and obviously being able to go the distance. You know what I mean? Because I think what I'm doing right now is I'm leaning into like, right, okay, making sure that my gas tank is there because let's be honest, Arms and Minicom was fucking embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, that's right.
How could anybody watch that back? I only watched it back 2 nights ago. I was actually DMing American about the fights, whatever else, and we were speaking about something between me and him, and I was just like, at four 3-minute rounds, and you have to be fucking held up. Are you having a laugh? Like you literally are getting paid to train and to fight, and you apparently live in the gym. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing with your days? Like,
it makes you wonder if they really do train. Or
well, at the same time, I commented on that fight week. I obviously Arms has a very impressive physique or whatever else. But when Misfits went to see him train in London Shoe Fighters, he just did a back workout. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
When would you see like anybody else who's getting ready for a fight do like, oh, this is how I deadlift? Like, oh, cool! I can't wait to see you not deadlift on Saturday night. What do you think opponent wise moving forward?
I reckon for a fight that I really do want to see is you versus Bad Boy Beeman.
Oh, sick! Yeah. Two Scousers going at it.
Because like I think for a debut fight for both of y'all on the Misfits, even if it's prelims, because it would make sense just to get a taste of you on the limelight sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think both of y'all would be a perfect matchup because you're both quite experienced.
Yeah.
When it comes to like boxing and stuff. So I reckon it'll just be a fucking crazy fight.
I think I have already expressed my interest in that fight. I've told him yes from my end. I know we loosely discussed it. I know his manager Lee has spoken to my manager Stephen. I'm down for whatever else. I have nothing but respect for him, the content he makes, whatever else. The fucking dude gets absolute death on Twitter over Call of Duty of all things. But he's a sound guy we've spoken to in voice notes and text messages privately. I've nothing but respect for him because I said this before in an interview the other week. I can't fabricate like beef. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's all competition. Now, if somebody was to start chatting shit, I mean, I'm fucking Irish. I can chat shit with the best of them.
You know what I mean? It's
but at the same time, when it comes to Bad Boy, like, I mean, he's got a lot of white collar experience. He knows what the story is. He knows what goes into it. He's got a great team behind him too. I think it would make for a great fight. My only request with that would be is allow us enough time to build as much fucking hype as possible.
Right.
I think a fight like that would need
the build up would be
exactly the build up would be epic.
You got two Scousers and that mate.
Because we initially started speaking. I used to work in a shop in Rodney Street in Liverpool, and I'm always over for football anyway because I'm a Liverpool fan. So I was like, oh no, we'll come over and we'll do some training, we'll spar or whatever else. And then obviously when the fight, kind of got like put into the conversation, I think the invitation for sparring kind of got taken back a small bit. And then, you know what I mean? But it's nothing but respect for me. I think he's a sound guy. But I would just love that 8 to 10 weeks to prep, to make video content and like all that kind of shit, you know what I mean? Because like his content is good. Obviously, I've got a good guy, Sam, who makes all my content. I think it'd be great. I think it would genuinely put asses in seats.
It would just be, I don't know, there's something about it that it's literally impossible to explain. It's just, I reckon you two for a debut fight on Misfits would be a perfect matchup because it would not only build you up from weight, with the sense of because not really that known in the Misfits community area.
Yeah,
I think just that fight alone would skyrocket both of you into Misfits.
Yeah,
into your where they want because with all the matchmaking stuff, it's mainly just the guys are already there. So I reckon if that happened, it would put you both of you quite high ranked in the Misfits heavyweight division, and I reckon you'll be getting a lot of offers because I just see the fight going in absolute madness, absolute brawling. None of
Scousers don't get knocked out either. So the two of us, you know what I mean? It's like
I was there because it was MisfitsBoxing, my company, and that.
Yeah.
What's it called? 002. I was there anyway because of course it's my company and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what's it called? It was seeing Bad Boy Beeman with because JST, this was his first actual fight.
Yeah.
And just seeing them both go at it, it was crazy. Because I was quite close with Jay anyway, so
Yeah.
it was hard to watch. But like as soon as Bad Boy Beeman knocked him out, basically, the first thing that Jay said to us was was that entertaining enough for you? The guy was literally lying on the ground and then said to us, bro, was that not gonna lie? Was that entertaining enough for you?
Yeah.
Even though the guy was just lying there.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, crossover boxing, although it is boxing, and you have to give respect because obviously it's like full contact, everyone's going full tilt, whatever. There is such a massive element of sports entertainment attached to it too. You know what I mean? Because like even, you know, boxing purists will argue, oh, like fuck this, fuck that. Like I'm not into influencer boxing, whatever else. But you know what? The numbers they're doing is down to the entertainment side of things.
100, literally. Because the thing you don't really see in professional boxing is an actual storyline.
Yeah, it's very, very rare.
With like Misfits, it's like you've got your wrestling, you've got your entertainment mixed with your boxing.
Yeah.
And it's literally the perfect fucking two.
And exactly,
because it hadn't been done sooner.
You're gonna have people making content about each other, like maybe chatting shit or whatever else, or in the comment section chatting shit. Literally. And then, you know, if you have allegiance or you're a fan of either side, it comes to a head on fight night. And you're tuning in to see your favorite content creator win by knockout or get knocked out on the opposite side. You're tuning in regardless.
You know what I mean? Literally. That's why I have a lot of respect, and I don't think people have enough respect for what Mams does as like behind the scenes, because you've got to think this guy's not only making these events, but with Mams, he's not really. He started with all that music, like he's known for, of course, your music, your music record labels and all that stuff. So for someone to go from being a record label CEO, it still is, and still got a bunch of crazy artists up the side to him, like of course JJ.
Yeah.
And that he just thought, why not do boxing, like do a boxing company and stuff with JJ and it's just like the guys. He's the amount of stuff that goes on in behind the scenes as well. Wow, you got to worry about like the most. Where he gets the craziest matchups, it's like you can't go wrong with the matchups literally, because you got to think people are pulling out left, right, and centre, and he just pulls another guy out, which is a perfect opponent. It's like, where does he find these people? I mean, it's crazy. It's amazing.
You would love to be like a fly on the wall of his office, or like, you know, in the corner of his little blackboard of all these names. You know what I mean?
Like the guy works hard and more. Like no, he doesn't get the appreciation that he deserves. Mams don't.
No, I don't. I do think he gets a lot of flack, which is very unwarranted and very unfair. I mean, he does deserve a lot of respect. Because even like, you know, even though I'm quite green in the scene and only coming in, you know, when he followed me on socials, I was like, oh shit. Like I was like, oh fuck, you know, because it's like
literally,
you know what I mean? It's like a rite of passage or something, you know?
Yeah.
But I did message him privately, and I said that obviously, regardless of what happens over the next few days, I will be in Leeds. I have my ringside tickets or whatever. I'll be there to support Ben. But I will make it my mission to come over, and I want to introduce myself personally and be like, hi, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the guys from the ICB said they would do like the introductions anyway, which is great, because then once you're in front of the man, you can make a pitch like me and you just did about, you know, me and Bad Boy, you know what I mean? Because I do think, regardless if it was prelims or not, or X Series or something like that for me and Bad Boy to fight later this year, I mean,
it's a crazy opportunity. You can't say no.
You could literally just take a section of any arena in the UK that the fights take place in, and we could fill that space.
Trust me, it'll be filled.
You know, I had initially been speaking earlier with Stephen that if you take 012 out of the equation for a second, it was pointed towards me fighting in North America around the same time, like the March time, which suits me fine. I do think it would be cool to go to America, compete, climb the rankings a bit more, and come back, and it builds that bit more hype then for coming for like a homecoming fight, you know what I mean, whether it be in the UK or Ireland, just somewhere where it's a bit more accessible for my fan base to come and attend the fight as opposed to them buying a stream, you know what I mean. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, I know there has been contact between our managements and all that kind of stuff. But the idea of it excites me. You know what I mean? I don't have a fight signed right now, but the idea of it is getting me out of bed at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym and just train, like not aimlessly, but to be putting in the work now, even before there's been pen put to paper.
I mean, that's what I like to see. People getting in the work and just taking advantage of the opportunities, because like if you're working hard, you're gonna reap the rewards in the end. So like the harder you work, the more rewards you're gonna get in the end.
I think for me personally,
the more you get that call as soon as
absolutely. But I think for me personally, because I am such a fan of boxing, I am in a gym with professional coaches and professional fighters who are fighting for genuine world fucking titles and European titles week out. Those guys in and around the gym I'm in hold me accountable to my own training. And even though it's not the same, they expect the exact same standard out of me. And two, it's just from a respect level for the sport, that the sport is like they say, you don't play boxing. It deserves a certain element of preparation. It deserves a certain element of, like you kind of like got to sacrifice a small bit to even partake in it. And that's why I think a lot of these, like especially in the heavyweight division, a lot of these guys are getting found out because they're not putting in the graft. We all have the exact same 24 hours in the day. It's just a matter of what you do with yours.
And how you go about managing it.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's what sets me apart from these guys is obviously, like I said, my content is creation on a daily basis, whether it be like, art or with tattoos or whatever else. But like a lot of these guys are fucking sitting on Kick, fucking playing Fortnite, and then I'm out running 6 in the piss and rain. You know what I mean? That's what sets me apart. I'm approaching this stuff like it's a WBC world title on the line, as opposed to, you know what I mean, an ICB belt or a Misfit belt. And that's not me being disrespectful to either organization. It's just a case of like, I'm taking it a little bit more serious than, this is pantomime, we're going to show up and box.
Yeah. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. So yeah, let's get to know a bit more about you.
Okay.
And just like how, like from where you started, like let's say 10 years ago, to your build up.
Okay. So a lot of like for example, a lot of my notoriety and fan base is Instagram based.
Yeah.
And then a lot of that came from before I was like so before I was a tattooer, I was a shop manager and like I suppose like a client and a kind of tattoo model and stuff before. I've done a couple of talk shows here in Ireland with the Late Late Show and all that kind of stuff, coming on talking about the tattoo industry, because there's a lot of stigma attached to tattooing in Ireland. It's still very frowned upon. And we're still a couple of years behind, let's say, even the UK and North America in terms of tattoos. So I gotten a lot of like popularity through that and through the fitness community from like participating in powerlifting and all that. So my socials grew through those. I used to go to all the fitness expos and all that kind of stuff with companies like Body Power that used to take place in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I go to that every year. I work with those guys for 5 years. And then when I started tattooing, I just slowly segued my content into strictly just tattoos. So the fan base, which sounds even weird to say, following was there from all that stuff. And then obviously just kind of transformed into like tattoo clients and tattoos. But a lot of my content is Instagram based. And then I do some long form stuff on YouTube, but man, just trying to find the fucking time lately. Like I haven't long form documented any of the boxing at all. The last thing on my YouTube channel, I think, was when I got the whole top of my head tattooed.
Yeah. How much did that hurt, if you don't mind me asking?
Fucking hard.
Because I was watching the video before we started, and it seemed like you was just trying to get rid of the pain, but at the same time, you was uploading content while doing it at the same time.
Well, I'll fess up, man. That video was like 13 seconds of an 8-hour day. And it was like, let's put on a brave face for the phone. It sucked. It was I have my whole torso covered, armpits and everything, and that was the last spot on my upper half to cover. And a good friend of mine, Darius Smith here in Dublin, finished it, and it was like we took 6 hours to line it. Then about a fortnight later, we shaded it in, and it took about 8 hours. But I think the 8 hours was because I had like my film crew and stuff with me.
Yeah.
He does like Darius is a big like grime fan, and the guy who does my videos did like stuff for H and a couple of more of like grime artists in the UK. So a lot of the 8 hours was spent just talking as opposed to actually getting any
Talk
work.
about artists and music and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, any chance you'd finish my fucking head tattoo, bro?
Got the content and did it. Got the content.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, right, okay, this is gonna make great YouTube and reels, but like, I mean, I'm in pain here.
Which, speaking about pain, what would say would have been the most painful part for you in like doing the whole tattoos and stuff?
My head is definitely up there, no pun intended. Um, but like I have like the insides of my palms and stuff done, like my fingers,
I see earlier. It's
like this kind of stuff here. They were horrible. There was like, moments of that where like I was crossing my legs in pain.
yeah.
Same as like my armpits and stuff. I have like, I don't know if I can even, I have like a full color spider in my armpit.
Mad.
They were pretty shit. But you know what? I spent so long getting tattooed. I've been getting tattooed for like the better part of 20 years now.
No idea.
You just start seeing gaps, man. You know what I mean? It's not even like I want to get this, whatever else. You just start seeing bare skin.
But it starts to annoy you.
Yeah, exactly. It does, and it's more like you're trying to complete a fucking elaborate game of Tetris. So the beautiful thing is, because I'm in the industry and I travel around. Yeah. My friends are some of the absolute best tattooers in the UK and Europe. That if we hang out, sometimes our hangouts will be like, oh hey man, can you do this for me? And like that's the way we get to see each other because we're all so busy. Yeah. That like the only way we get to hang out is by like kind of booking tattoos in. But no, I mean it's been a great journey, and like I said, my favorite thing about the industry is I love the conversation of it, whether it be with me and my clients on a daily basis, asking them about their lives and their families and their careers. And like I've always said, if I won the lotto tomorrow, I'd still tattoo because I love like sitting down talking like we are right now, Say it again?
But that money can't take you away from you.
No, exactly. You know what I mean? And even now that like I've opened my own studio here in Dublin and stuff, I find myself being like, if someone goes, because obviously times are tough on everybody. And people are like, oh, I can only afford this. I'm like, that's fucking fine. I don't care. I'd rather you get a piece of art that you're happy with and come in and, be able to afford other shit because like tattooing's a luxury. So I'm like, come on in, let's have a coffee and a chat. It's no big deal. Who cares? You know what I mean? Whereas, I obviously understand it's a business, but I feel like if you look after people, they'll look after you in turn. Like it'll do you a good turn down the line,
Yeah, literally. I wish I could. The thing is, I've always wanted tattoos, but I just can't have them because of my heart condition and stuff.
Right.
So it's something that I've never been able to, because my missus has got quite a few of them.
Yeah.
I just like, I want to have them, but every time I go to and speak to my hospital for the stuff,
yeah,
there's like it's not worth the risk. But if you are to take the risk, then that's what you want. Yeah. Then if I take the risk, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Oh. So that's
you know what?
It's I guess the only thing you can probably do is maybe live vicariously through your partner and just buy her tattoos. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've already asked her if she can get some tattoos that I want, but she's like, no.
Because I even get that because obviously I have quite a lot of coverage now. I get tattoo envy. Whether I'm doing a tattoo on a client or I see something my friend has gotten, I'm like, shit, I wish I had space for that. You know what I mean? But unfortunately,
have you ever thought about getting one of them removed just to do another one over it, or?
Well, right now, like I have like some stuff on my arms, like so. I think you can maybe see, like I'm just putting like newer stuff over older shit. So I'm just kind of blasting them over.
Props.
I got laser once on the back of my calf, and it was so fucking bad that I haven't since. Where I'd rather live with like a shitty tattoo than get anything lasered because it's fucking horrible.
And plus, with having so many tattoos, it couldn't when they're doing the laser and it could end up going onto that tattoo, so then that tattoo just wrecked.
Oh, exactly. There's so many different things that can happen with that. You know what I mean? But for me, it just feels like someone's sawing apart. It's a different kind of getting tattooed. You know what I mean? It's just it's really not worth it.
True that. I get your pain there, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, is there anything you want to say or?
No, I mean, obviously, I want to say thank you very much for your time, man. I appreciate it. And like, you know, it's going to be great. I like building relationships with people like yourself and even the guys over like Outcast Boxing and all that kind of stuff and putting the time aside because I know what it's like to start like, you know, getting into a scene or whatever else. So it's like, it doesn't cost me
Oh,
a
actually,
penny.
I'm used to seeing. I'm
Pardon?
used to it. I started small creative boxing, so basically, but this was back in 2022. I started small creative boxing, and then it's now known as Outcast Boxing.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So basically, I started back in 2022. On this was back when the case. This was back 001 Misfits 001,
Yeah.
and when I was watching that, I was just like, oh, you see all the smaller guys and the medium-sized creators wanting to fight on Misfits. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to start my own company up.
There's a gap in the market. Yeah, yeah,
This is at the age of 18 as well. Knew nothing
yeah.
about boxing promoting and nothing. Within the first 6 months, I'd already had a boxing event done, sorted. And a week later, I was doing media with Misfits.
There you go,
And
man. That's it.
within the first month or first week or first month, I'd already got over 1K followers and got mums following me. Hasim Rockman Jr. and all of these massive creators following me to the point where this small creator scene has just grown from starting small creator boxing, and then we had small creator, we had SCB001, and then you had the latest one which was SC002, and then we transitioned. It will transition into Outcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And I stepped away because, of course, having a child.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But it's a case of like, you know, you should be very proud of yourself for that progression so quickly as well, and identifying a gap in the market. But for me, it's a case of, although I come from a different like section of like creation and all that kind of shit, but it's a case of like I want to be involved in the community. So I mean, if it means I take an hour out of my day to have a conversation with myself or anybody else who's like podcasting to interviews, I'm like, it doesn't. I'm my own boss, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. And it's just a case of like I'm here at Grafton trying to get my name out there too. You know what I mean? Even though I'm sitting here with 2 belts, I'm still nowhere near having a Misfits contract.
You know where you want to be and where you feel comfortable.
Pardon?
You don't feel you're not near anywhere you want to be or feel comfortable.
Oh, exactly, and that's the thing as well. Like, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse that I feel like I can't settle, but at the same time, I mean, it's paying dividends when it comes to this stuff. And like I'm looking forward to obviously going to O12 and all the other events as well, so I can actually meet all you guys in person too. You know what I mean? Because obviously Zooms and all are great, but it's not the same as like being
it's not the same. It's nowhere near the more electrifying and more. It's just you feel a lot more relaxed in person.
Of course, absolutely.
When I was doing Misfits media for Misfits 004, like it was so great to actually meet these creators, meet my friends I'd not met for my first event, and just generally because the amount of networking you do, the amount of relationships you build. Of course. You never thought 5 years ago, most of us never thought we would be into this sort of thing or doing this sort of thing. So, especially me, because I've had some crazy past. A lot of death happened and stuff. So, you know I mean, most of my childhood was pain because of my heart surgery, losing my sibling, like my brother and sister and all that stuff. So I was had a crap childhood. So to be able to do this sort of thing and do this in memory of them, it's just, you know what I mean?
Of course, man. But you know, like that's what I'm saying. As in, like you've changed that now. You've used that as fuel to get to where you're at, man. You should be very proud of yourself.
I'll let you know after. I'll let you know after the whole inset and all that stuff.
Of course, well, we can have that conversation face to face.
Literally, but yeah. And then I was speaking to Mams earlier, and I was like, "Is it right if I get an interview with you for boxing?" Because I've already done it previous on the Small Creator Boxing channel, which is now the actual channel, because of running it and stuff. And then so I've done an interview with him before, and I've just got to know him quite well and stuff, and known quite a few of these creators. So it's like I see you in Leeds, and I was just like, it's going to be kind of hard to get to Leeds because I won't be able to make it just because of the fact that just in case the baby.
Of course, yeah.
It's too much hassle and it's not worth the trouble.
No, of course, man. And you know what? You probably wouldn't be able to enjoy yourself either because you'd be checking your phone for fucking text messages and stuff just in case.
So I said to Mams, I'd be like, I'll try and like if there's an event around, I'm fit for a playback as well. I've got if there's any events around April, May, then 100% I'll be down there.
Yeah.
Because it gives me time to spend time with my child and that and missus, and then it'll be my 20th birthday in April. So you know what I mean. If you could have a few drinks with the lads and that.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll have to get you a pint of Guinness for that, my man.
100%.
Sorry, a pint of Forge Irish Stout, should I say?
You know it. I've never actually tried that. You know, I've always.
I was gonna see if I could, because my cut man Andy is Conor McGregor's cut man, and obviously I know all those guys. I played football for Conor and stuff. I'm trying to work out a sponsorship deal with Forge Irish Stout right now. For this next fight as well. So I mean, if you had obviously Conor in my corner and stuff moving forward, it'd be fucking huge. You know what I mean? So,
hey, trust me, the amount of shit talks as well, it'll be fucking amazing.
I feel like if I had Conor backing me for a Misfits fight, they'd roll out the red carpet and the red panties and open the front doors for me, Misfits.
Hey, a fight that I do want to see, not gonna lie, is JJ versus McGregor.
You know what, man? You know what? Everyone was like, "Oh, like I'm not into that idea, whatever else." There was people who said that him and Floyd would never happen.
You know what I mean?
You know, so like at the end of the day, money talks. I've been in those circles for a long time. I mean, I was at Conor's debut in Stockholm when he fought Marcus Brimich. I know all the guys that from his team a very, very long time. So obviously I'm amongst good people and a good crew there. But you know what? Obviously Chandler is the fight International Fight Week, but there's I'm never going to say never because you never know. They could just announce McGregor versus KSI in Wembley end of the year or something.
Literally, you got to think them two have recorded in the past for a video for a UFC game.
Yeah.
And Conor's reaction to JJ's laugh was just fucking jokes. It was like the fuck is that laugh? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like Conor called him out in the ring as well, wasn't it? When JJ
was I was a bit confused because I don't know where the hatred has come from these two because they used to be like they're doing all that stuff back in the day, you know what I mean? The FIFA and all that stuff and UFC games and stuff. But I reckon that fight, there's something about it, the build up, the storyline. And just the shit talk from JJ alone.
Yeah.
And you got McGregor as well. It's like you couldn't get a better fucking shit talking match. You know what I mean? It's everything about it's perfect. Not just for the team.
I would be on board for too. You know what I mean? Obviously, as a diehard fan, you know you want to see him come back and win maybe another UFC title or whatever. But you know, like with the whole Francis Ngannou and Fury thing, and now Ngannou and AJ, like these crossover fights, these are like video
they're
games.
Money makers, literally, they're money makers.
Exactly. That's
one of these fights. You set out for life, literally.
So I mean, I would be totally down for it. I was looking there. I was speaking, being like, all right, okay, do this stuff with the Forge. I was like, maybe go to International Fight Week for this fight because obviously I haven't been to a Conor fight in a long time. And I was like, right, okay, we'll see. But that was something you would have to go out of your way to see. Same as like Katie Taylor and Croke Park here in Dublin. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those fights to be like, every time I say to people, because of the build up for Misfits in Manchester, I always say, I was at Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis, as opposed to KSI and Tommy. You know what I mean? Because everyone knew the shit that Dylan was at and like how he was promoting the fight and all that kind of stuff. So Conor versus KSI would be a great fight.
You know, I just think about it. It would be fucking like it would be more electrifying and a lot more of a bigger stadium than JJ versus Tommy Fury.
Oh, of course.
You got to think Tommy Fury's name is not really that known. He's only known for being Tyson's brother.
Yeah.
And still, then it came from Love Island. You know what I mean? It's a shit program.
I think even if I'm honest, I think JJ versus Conor would be bigger than Conor versus Jake Paul.
Easily, I reckon it's just such a big thing. You know what I mean? So you've got JJ with the whole of the YouTube backing, whole of the
UK.
It's just the UK.
UK, Ireland, that always does well.
You know what I mean? And you've also got like JJ with his whole box, with his whole drinks company, all the backing from that. Everything is done. Everything JJ's done from where he started from being a FIFA YouTuber.
Yeah.
To now being a platinum record selling artist. boxing the likes of Tommy Fury and all these fights and stuff, while also doing YouTube with the Sidemen.
Yeah.
It makes you realise, like, if JJ can do it, then, you know what I mean, everyone can do it, because that guy never got a day that he's not busy.
Like I said to you, man, everybody has the exact same 24 hours in the day.
Literally.
Everybody. You know what I
There's
mean?
no excuse for anyone to put in the work.
How bad do you want it? You know what I mean? And what's your game plan? Like, what's your end goal? You know? And he obviously, I mean, hats off to him, incredible businessman. Like, the only thing I can knock him for is being an Arsenal fan. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing.
That's the only thing.
Okay, Liverpool won last night, so I'm happy, so it's fine.
Oh, JJ wasn't. He was pissed. I know. Thankfully, I'm a Chelsea fan, which is not really a good thing at the moment. But
well, look, the least said about that, the better.
Yeah,
but you know what? We might see you if you guys get past Middlesbrough tomorrow night and next week. Might see you in the Carabao Cup final again.
Again, yeah.
Yeah. But Connor, I'm gonna bust off and get some food because I am spent after training the last 2 days.
Yeah, true.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you, bro.
Andrew, bro.
Obviously, I'm not going to catch you in Leeds, but I wish you all the best with becoming a dad. It is the most amazing job in the whole world, and you're gonna fucking smash it, bro.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. To be honest, like, I've been wanting to, because me and my missus have been together 7 years this year, and I'm only 19. So, like, she's 20 because we're 7 months between us and that.
Yeah.
So it's something I knew that when we first met. There's just a spark that happened, and I was like, I feel like this is going to be one of those like, because you got to think we met in secondary school.
Yeah.
So without you got your school lovers and that. And but I'm not gonna lie, I just can't wait to have a little girl. You know what I mean?
You know what they say, man. When you know, you know.
You know what I mean? It's impossible to explain unless you've been in that situation.
Of course, man. I know what that feels like.
But yeah, anyway, I'll let you go anyway. Thanks for joining.
All right. And hopefully in the next couple of months, I'll get to congratulate you in person, okay?
Andrew, bro. Thanks for your time.
Mind yourself, bro. I'll check you.